Soldier, you have the pain train. Do not go in there. Those bullets will kill you.
No!
Alright, well you're the one who's digging your own grave. Not my fault.
If you know what's good for you, you will run!
Okay, don't say I didn't warn you.
Damn it!
Well, the pain train. What an interesting weapon. A weapon that is so highly situational that most players don't even bother to use it. Because why would you? There's so many better alternatives that exist. Why would you equip this weapon? Alright, without further ado, let's talk about the pain train. Alright, before we can even dive into the stats of this weapon, we need to talk about the history of it. This weapon was added in the March 18th, 2010 patch. This item was a community-made, contributed item that brought itself into the game. Now, speaking of shared histories, you know what two classes share a history together? The Soldier and the Demo Man. And not only do they share a history together, they share weapons. The Pain Train is equipable by both Soldier and the Demo Man. Alright. Let me slow down for a moment. What is the Pain Train? What are the item stats? Well, as you can clearly see, +1 capture rate on wearer. But there's a small downside of 10% bullet damage vulnerability on wearer, which... No, I know what you're thinking. Whoa, +1 capture rate? That's awesome! We gotta talk about the downsides first before we get into the upsides. Also, I was gonna talk about how the melee weapon works, how much damage it does, but it's literally 1-for-1 of stock melee, which... stock melee on Soldier, it's its own topic, but it isn't that interesting, so I'll skip over it. So my first test was to test the shotgun and how much more damage it could take. Naturally, the normal shotgun does 90 versus taking 99 at max ramp up. This isn't going to change any thresholds, you still take 3 shots to kill. And of course, I had to test it with the scatter gun just to see if there was any more damage going to be applied. But it still doesn't change any thresholds, you still die in 2 shots. Now, where this gets more interesting is actually when the target is further away. See, this basically increases your enemy's effective range, especially scouts and any other bullet type class, which leads to your 2 greatest enemies, sentries and heavies. Those will gun you down like basically instantly. And they can do it at a further range because that 10% vulnerability effectively increases your enemy's range. So you need to be careful to not get hit, because if you do, you're basically just dead. Alright, so now that positive, that +1 capture rate. This is very self-explanatory. You get to play an explosive class. No, not like a scout getting angry. No. You play Soldier or Demo with your explosives, and you get to have an extra capture rate. Now, this is good, say you're on payload, you gotta make sure you're pushing the cart or are actually staying on the point to actually make use of this weapon. Because if you're not capturing a point or pushing the cart, you are actively hindering yourself, because then there are 0 upsides on this weapon and only downsides. So if you like to play capture the flag, or you like to play roamer, you're not going to be so helpful for your team and yourself. You're going to be actively hurting yourself. And at that point, you might as well just play scout. Now remember back at the beginning of the video how I said this weapon's highly situational? Well, that's because, well, obviously it is. This weapon is highly dependent on what game modes you even play. So if you don't play a game mode that has a capturable objective, then the weapon is completely useless and will do nothing to help you. Now, what game modes can you even use this in? In King of the Hill and Control Points. Both teams are able to capture points, so no one is going to be useless. Now, in Payload and Attack Defend, only the attackers get to really use the Pain Train, because those are the only teams that are able to capture. So if you're playing defense with the Pain Train, what the heck are you doing? You're actively hurting yourself, which I myself actually did for this video because I was stupid. It's not worth it. It's not fun. So why should you use the Pain Train over just playing Scout? Other than you like the classes? Well, okay, so let's talk about how Valve could improve this weapon. And by Valve, I mean me, because anything I say here is all that I think. So, what should we do to the pain train? One, I think we should make it less situational and give it a bit of use in every game mode. So the first change would be make it so people using the pain train deal more damage to people holding the intelligence. This would give the pain train utility and capture the flag. It'd at least give it something to work with. Now, my second suggestion, which would probably be a little more iffy, is either giving a buff on movement speed if you are nearby a point, whichever team. So, for example, in defense, maybe you're using the pain train and there's someone on the cart. Well, holding the pain train out, maybe that'll increase your speed or maybe increase your damage. So then defense actually has a use for the pain train, so it's not just a attacker's only type of weapon. Or maybe we can give, if you're by the capture point, you get a little bit of defense. But I wouldn't really go with that because the idea behind the weapon is that you become a little more squishy. So I'd opt for either a movement speed or a damage increase only with the weapon deployed, not just a universal thing. Because if that was the case, that'd be a little too broken. But tell me what you think below about these balance changes that I have. I mean, there's not much you can do to really increase the effectiveness of the weapon, and I think the 10% damage vulnerability is a fine enough downside, as it's not too egregious. It just means you have to be a little more careful around heavies and sentries, as other damage thresholds don't really change and are basically the same. So, that's the pain train. I want you to go down into your games and start using the pain train. And even if it isn't a thing where it'd be effective, try to rack up as many pain train kills as possible and get people talking about this weapon. For what reason? No reason. There is no reason for this weapon. So, use it, have fun, and I'm gonna go get into some channel updates. So my last live stream on Wednesday of this week, there was someone that said, "Ooh man, where's this community Discord? You should totally make one." And my response, and what I will stick to, is when this channel gets the 200 subscribers, I will go ahead and make a community Discord so that we could all do stuff in there. What kind of stuff? Well, for one, I have in mind is we can do community Arctic phone nights, because that game's very fun, and being able to play with you guys will be a very fun thing to do. Like I said, one of my main goals with the channel is to grow a community, so I guess having a place for the community to go, talk, whatever, that will eventually be made. Secondly, if you made it this far in the video, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and comment down below what other weapon I should talk about. It could be a bad weapon, it could be a good weapon, it could even be a stock weapon. Whatever weapon in TF2 you want me to talk about, I'll dedicate an episode to. And if you really like these weapon review videos, you should go over the Sharp Games All channel if you really like these weapon reviews, because his channel weapon reviews are what inspired me to even make this pain train video in the first place. And that's been me, over and out, and have a good one. Peace.